This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Quip. Very nice, convenient electric toothbrushes sent to your home with brush head refills every 3 months. And if you go to tryquip.com/thumbs, you can get $10 off your first brush head refill. That's tryquip.com/thumbs. So what are we starting with yet another hoisting?
I guess so.
Hoisting?
This is just, yeah. I don't know how we're not.
This week on Infinite Hoisting. It's June 15th, 2017.
And this is Important If True.
Wow. For Model Thumbs, I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
You are excited, Nick, to get going with this. You're undaunted.
Couldn't you tell earlier? I'm pumped.
Nick's excitement is there in an attempt to paper over how destroyed we have been by trying to tell all these funny poo stories.
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago we told a very funny story that that was told to me by Nick, the hairdresser you and I both use, and
previously on Important If True.
She realizes the bag of crap was left directly next to the note.
Yes, I knew it. Oh, so good.
On the kitchen counter.
So, that's a story that I told our hairdresser. No.
What?
Yeah.
We hoisted ourselves last week.
I disagree, but continue.
The incredible poop story, that is apparently a sort of infamous, I guess, pseudo-urban legend. So here's a story that this reader swears is verifiably true. My colleague's brother was
Okay, all right. Yeah.
He led her into the cabin's bathroom, pointed at the toilet, and depressed the handle. The blocked toilet, of course, flushed perfectly, leaving him with the unenviable task of somehow explaining to the nonplussed cleaning lady.
And now, the conclusion.
And sadly, it seems that the rare triple hoist has been achieved.
Mm-hmm.
This story, apparently, that we told last week was, in fact, a story that may have been originated in any number of places, but seems to be best known as an anecdote relayed by British comedian Jack Whitehall on The Graham Norton Show.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if this was an intentional hoisting by the reader.
Were we played? Because
I think we were played.
Enough details were changed. Where like it was a cruise, and the service staff person was a woman, and it was a different language,
Spanish to Swedish. Yeah,
yeah. And I can't tell if that was just like a noun roulette, or if that person has actually gone through a game of telephone.
Well, you know
to
what
them.
I realized? We. Just moments ago, before we pressed record on the podcast, we sat down and watched the Graham Norton segment. It's like under 2 minutes. He tells the story very efficiently. Again, it's a pretty quick story. And I realized as I was watching it, I have seen that.
Yeah,
okay.
So did I.
All three of us.
We'd all seen that clip.
All three of us have seen that stupid clip before.
Yes. Jesus Christ.
Oh, fuck. So hoisted. I didn't realize you guys had also seen
No, that's once I saw the clip, I went, uh-oh.
Yeah.
I did see this before.
Uh-huh.
God damn it.
As it's often trotted out on like Reddit and various places online as an example of the outrageous sorts of stories that you get on that particular talk show.
What's funny is I've watched.
So I've seen it in a bunch. I've seen it in a collection with a bunch of other clips from that show.
I've watched a ton of the Graham Norton Show. It's one of those. You know how YouTube will, over on the right, it has all your sort of suggested videos. I've watched enough Graham Norton content on YouTube that no matter what I'm watching on YouTube, there's always like half a dozen.
Well, you can recognize those
clips
because there's got that really iconic red-orange set.
Yes,
that's true. And so that was fully a full and complete hoisting on our part. I want to introduce another piece of evidence here that suggests perhaps we were more intentionally hoisted.
Okay, I thought you were about to try to just tell another poo story, like you were trying to dig.
We got that too.
Okay,
that's coming.
we're gonna dig our way out of this hole.
Please come watch us dig our way
By
out.
hook
of
or by
this.
crook,
shovel
we'll
shit.
keep telling ourselves funny stories about poo under the guise of them being original.
So the story last week was sent to us by a reader claiming to be from Bristol in the UK. We got this email from Drew Edwards, who says, "Hi, Thumbs. I can't believe this is my first email to write to you all. However, I thought it important to point out that you might have been hoisted by the reader who told you the cruise ship poop story. I mean, that has been confirmed. But this is an amazing detail. He says, the reader lives in Bristol, a city that lends its name to the Bristol Stool Scale, or Myers Scale. The scale classifies the varying degree of form and hardness of human feces.
So you
He
suspect
says,
that-
maybe it's an unfortunate coincidence, but I couldn't let it slip through the cracks. Sorry, Drew in Oklahoma.
Don't say slip through the cracks in the context of poop.
No.
This
I
person is
think that might
suggesting
have
that,
been like
that maybe
the
Bristol.
killer's calling card.
Yeah.
As we were we
Yeah.
were assassinated live on our podcast, this reader snuck in the evidence of his own culpability
Right.
in plain view with a brazen hoisting, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the day that someone sends us in a poo story, and then somehow we don't realize that the back half of the story is the opening lyrics to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song. Like, we're basically getting to that point.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
There's also something there. Keeping in line with last week's observation that emails sent to our inbox have little inferred auto replies from Google. The bottom of this email, Google suggests 3 options. The first 2, enthusiastic with exclamation points. Thanks for sharing. Thank you. And then the third, terse with period. Thanks for the heads up. Take from that what you will.
That last one could either be shameful, or it could be that we're having a, like, all the president's men total parking garage meeting with this person who's like, I think you guys have been hoisted.
Yeah.
And then gives us a dossier that includes the Bristol stool stick scale. And we're leafing through it going, this all adds up.
Yeah. I thought maybe I would read
Thanks
some
for-
of
thanks for the heads up.
some of the numbers on the Bristol stool scale, but the descriptions are so disgusting that I think it's better if I don't.
Just keep them in mind for when people start sending us poo stories. If the killer strikes again, and we now have the necessary verbiage.
Ah, I see. This story. I'd consider it type 4, like a smooth, soft sausage or snake.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Oh
for
no! Yeah, you correct.
Here's another email we got. You've been hoisted. From Gregory Wakefield, who says, first time, long time, the poo on the cruise ship story is one I've heard before, unless me and the emailer have the same circle of friends. You have been hoisted, Greg, London. And then the 2 Google replies are, thank you, exclamation point, and terse with period, I don't know what you're talking about. So,
I would describe your situation on the Bristol stool scale as a 7 hoist.
do you actually want to know what 7 is?
No, I just
You
described
don't.
it.
You don't. I guarantee you don't.
I told you the adjective already, Chris. It is a hoist stool.
We do have what claims to be a true poo story
Okay.
from Alex. I mean, we could skip it.
I have an idea for a new name for our podcast, Chris. It rhymes with the current podcast name. Our recurring segment.
Yeah, we got it. We all got there.
I imagine the
I'll
Bristol
leave it
stool
up to
scale
you.
also describes something as a recurring segment. Just get it
Yeah,
over
just
with.
get it
Chris.
over with.
Just,
All right.
let's
Just,
get just headshot. Let's just
yeah.
do this right now.
Just
Let's literally
quit.
walk into 3 laser sites by reading someone else's poo story on this
Yeah.
podcast.
Alex writes, unlike previous stories, I can confirm this one is real as it is a tale of my own self-hoisting.
No,
I like that that's considered sufficient evidence.
it's a tale of someone's self-hoisting.
When I was in high school, my family took a lengthy trip to Boston to attend my aunt's wedding. As my parents were struggling financially at the time, my aunt called in a favor from a realtor friend. We'd get to stay in a gorgeous model home in a new development, fully furnished and clearly meant to appeal to people far above our income bracket. The key stipulation was we needed to leave the place pristine. There could be no evidence people had been living there once gone, which seemed more than a fair price to pay to stay in a place infinitely nicer than a cheap motel. The morning of our first full day, our family prepared to head out to explore the city, and I was stuck on the toilet because, of course, I was. Inevitably, it ended up being clogged, and being a model home, there was no plunger around to fix it. With everyone desperate to leave and enjoy the de facto vacation, I quickly decided to leave it as is, vowing to thoroughly clean once we returned without letting the rest of my family know of my error. A few hours later, we got a call from the realtor. This is when I learned a key detail my parents had left out. The house was still being actively shown to clients while we were out during the day. Our presence had to be concealed even while we were staying there. Everything else had been tidied as I was taking my sweet time in the bathroom, and no one thought to question whether I'd leave a mess in there as we left for the city. Naturally, the realtor took a prospective buyer on a house tour of the house, which abruptly ended upon discovery of the toilet. The realtor was pissed, as everyone knew who had last used the bathroom in the morning. My hoisting was complete. We proceeded to spend the rest of the trip in a cheap motel. Alex. So I have to call into question the veracity of this story.
I give it like a 2 on the scale, like well-formed but suspicious. Like just a little. Yeah, I'm raising an eyebrow down at that.
Why did they open the toilet? Why did they go into the bathroom and open the toilet?
Yeah, I don't know.
Would you, like, if you're being shown a home, would you go into the bathroom, like, throw open the toilet and say, aha?
I would, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because there could be poo in there, as I've now learned. But I guess
you get shown bathrooms.
I've never shopped for a house before, but as a person who's rented plenty of apartments, at this point, a thing that I always do in any place that I might be living is open up every sink, every shower,
That's
faucet,
true, actually.
flush
Yeah.
every toilet, because if the water flow is messed up or if there's like a poo in there, you want to know about it. Like if a guy who is staying in the house leaves a poo sometimes when you're seeing it, you got to know.
That's actually true. I think I do a similar thing, but for different reasons and in a different way than you do, which is that when I'm viewing an apartment, because I too have viewed many apartments in my life, and when I do so, it's one of those situations
you take a poo
where
in that toilet always.
Just to see. No,
Just to claim it.
It's one of those sort of social situations where I still, after doing this probably dozens of times in my life, I'm never quite sure what's expected of me.
The story's got to be ending with you peeing or shitting in the toilet of any of these.
No, there's nothing catastrophic about it.
I take a cold shower capper every time
and then pee in the shower.
Strip down, take a cold shower.
No, it's much dumber than that. It's just that I'm sort of in this situation, and the real estate agent or whoever, the landlord or whoever it is sort of there, and they're like, take however much time you want, and I'm like, okay, and I've sort of looked around it, and I'm like, I see it, I see the apartment now, but I don't want to just leave 5 minutes after getting there, because then it feels like I'm sort of insulting this person by not doing something active. So I sort of just go, yes. And I walk around and sort of look in cabinets, or I'll pick up the toilet seat and sort of just look in it. I don't know what I'm expecting. Close. It's like, yes, very good.
I do that in every apartment, but it's because I'm actually trying to see how much storage space there is, and is there good water pressure, or am I being owned?
I think I've been so beat down by the rental market in this area that anything
where you're like, it's an apartment.
There are walls on the walls.
I can live in this.
Yeah, like anything that is down to the subtlety of the water pressure on the toilet. Fuck, are you kidding? What?
That's true, but now imagine if you opened the toilet and there was a fucking poo in there. You would leave immediately.
That's true. I would, yeah. So maybe this is in fact a believable story.
Yeah.
Maybe the story is entirely believable.
That said, I couldn't not picture it in the house from Arrested Development. I could not. My mental image of this was 100% in the model home of this Sudden Valley real estate development.
Yeah.
And this does just seem like a premise for a sort of sub-Arrested Development ripoff show that someone tried and failed to put on Fox in 2004.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Alex. I think this is probably the most likely to be real. Nick is shaking his head.
I could just feel it. What are you saying right now? Oh, thank you, Alex. Cut forward,
please show me the
last
clip
time on
from
Important
the
If True.
Notorious pilot from the guys who then went on to make Psych or some fucking network show where the pilot had someone pooping in a model home. It's gonna happen, and if it doesn't, I hope someone films and produces a fake version of it to attempt to counter hoist.
Yeah.
Where's the leaked spec script from that old, never produced Dan Harmon TV show, Get Hoisted?
I think we can put a lid on that.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Jake, I believe you have news of crucial Russian hacking this week. As we know, Russian hacking's been big in the news recently, and I believe you have an
finally
update
need to
on
cover
this
it, yeah.
story that I don't understand, so I need you to explain it to me.
Well, I only believe that I have a complete understanding of this, but it's tough to know because the story involves Russian hackers using the comments thread on Britney Spears' Instagram feed to control malware bots.
So, yeah, this is that's the thing I don't understand. Which I guess
very
is
simple,
the
Chris.
entirety of the story.
Yeah, the gist of it is actually pretty simple. It's a pretty classic, like, crappy
In what way is any of it classic?
classic malware.
Pretty classic, I would
Okay,
say.
well, it's malware that is downloaded by way of someone clicking on a stupid link somewhere. Like you download it the way that you would get any
you're
malware.
sort of conned into downloading something.
Yeah, you download
Yeah.
a Fire. In this case, I think it's a Firefox extension, but it's the same sort of shit where like you click on a link in a phishing email, or you click on a notorious link on a website, and then something or a Word document that has like malicious code in it, and it will surreptitiously put an extension into your copy of Firefox. The thing that was interesting about this is those things need to know how to phone home. They like the little extension. It's I believe increasingly uncommon for them to actually have the location of the server they're talking to hard coded into it, because if someone finds it and turns it off, then the bot can't do malicious things anymore if it can't actually find the way to phone home. So what this group of Russian hackers has decided to do is to encode the location of their potentially ever-changing server inside of innocuous comments on photos of Britney Spears that she posts to her own Instagram feed. So the photo in the article is just like a picture of Britney Spears in like a fishnet swimsuit, like a mesh net swimsuit, and all of the comments are of course just like sparkly heart emojis and people being like, great shot, still hot, Britney. And there's one that is hashtag too hot, make loved to her, comma, ups, hashtag hot, hashtag S. And they looked at that and it hashes out if you hash the data, it resolves to the number 183. And their bot is apparently scrolling through Britney's comments, looking for a comment that hashed out to 183. Then it looks for like non-spacing characters that are usually used like for weird semantic markup stuff or to like separate out joined emoji. And those were injected between a bunch of the letters. And if you take those and just take the character after it, it's 2HKDHUHX. And then if you go to bit.ly, which is a URL shortener. If you go to a bit.ly link, that's bit.ly/2KDHUHX. That goes to the current location for the PHP control console for this malware. So basically, you download a Firefox extension that then is secretly scraping Britney Spears' photos to look for comments saying like "too hot sex," which then somehow redirects a Russian hacker to a like control panel device that they can use to then make your computer do a bunch of horrible shit.
That's so bizarre.
It's the choice of Britney Spears' Instagram is obviously the part of it that's like, oh, delicious.
Yeah.
Is it because it's a really high volume Instagram
It must be that
account,
it's going to get
like,
buried in what looks like anyone else's comment spam.
Right.
Oh, man.
I am imagining some researcher who's basically the weird, dumb equivalent of like SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, which is constant. You know, it's that thing where you can like contribute cycles from your computer, and it's constantly parsing sort of information that's coming from space to see if we can ever find the communication from aliens. And it's like, okay, well, obviously we haven't found anything, but it's like we're still just looking, we're checking all of it. And I'm imagining in this case a guy sitting who's like the equivalent of that, but who's scraping like celebrity Instagram.
And he just goes,
like,
what the fuck?
I'm going to find something. What the fuck? Guys. He's like,
it's the big one.
Gesturing people over to his desk.
The choice to plant this information in just like generic, like Britney Spears has just sort of been, I mean, well, she's had many ups and downs, but is such a cliche.
Yeah.
Hot celebrity. There's just a van that includes Simon Pegg, Jack Black, and Seth Green. Like, just like 90s to 2000s hacker vanning it up, being like, we're bouncing the URL off of Britney Spears' Instagram as like the undetectable move that you write into your stupid screenplay, and then like they have that as their wallpaper on their computers and stuff. Oh, there's.
Yeah.
When they're like doing the huge hack, then one of them like blows a kiss to his Britney Spears wallpaper on his laptop. It's like, thanks, Britney.
Yeah.
Except that this is actually real.
Hopefully the FBI agent who's tracking them says through gritted teeth, "Leave Britney alone."
Yeah, Britney Spears has a cameo in the credits where there's a new Britney Spears song at the end of this Judd Apatow comedy.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Or she shows up at the end of the movie in the sort of, they're at like a Britney Spears show, and she's actually in the movie.
But she looks at them and knows that they've been doing it somehow.
Right. She says, hashtag S, I'm hot, I love tonight.
Yeah. This is going out to all of the hash 183 commenters. Like, what? Oh, she knows. And then it ends with her getting in a limo with Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, right. Is that Britney Spears as Manchurian candidate?
Yes.
What is this movie turned into something very different and better?
I don't know why she would know that the comments hash out to 183.
That's also, by the way, just a totally plausible modern kind of bro espionage comedy thing is Britney Spears is actually a foreign espionage agent, like in the actual fiction of the thing, playing herself in that role. That is entirely plausible.
Yeah, and she in fact says, "Boys, you played yourself." And then that's in the closing credits where it then says, "And Britney Spears as herself freeze frames during the huge motion graphics closing credit sequence."
Yeah.
Yep.
Except that this is real.
That's true, right? This actually is a real thing that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not that part, but probably that part.
Yeah.
Should we do a question?
Yeah, probably.
Kier writes, "Hi Thumbs. I've been a Blue Apron subscriber for a long time, likely because of an Idle Thumbs promotion, but I have a problem."
This is like native advertising. What is this going on here?
Oh, that's true. Sorry. I don't know. Buy it or don't. I don't care. They're drowning me in garlic. I get a whole clove of garlic for every meal that calls for it, and I'm up to something like 30 cloves of garlic at this point, even though I usually add more than they call for. My spice cabinet can't hold anymore. How am I supposed to use all of this? Please save me. Thanks, Kier, from the Idle Thumbs forums and streams. I mean, honestly, I use all the garlic.
You just use it all.
I actually consume a shitload of garlic, to the point that my wife constantly complains that I smell like garlic. Like, I mean, it's not really a very helpful answer, but I consume a lot of garlic.
Chris just sucked all the air out of the room and replaced it with garlic.
I'm sorry to have to give you that answer.
I was waiting for Blue Apron is building up an army of vampire hunters, like whatever.
No, but I mean, sure.
I
asked for an answer and I got it.
You eat the garlic. Shut up and eat it. There's like kids somewhere in the world that don't even have garlic, so...
Well, yeah, hand it off to a kid. Just if you pass a kid on the street, hand him a head of garlic.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, kid.
You like Britney Spears' Instagram accounts?
Well, when I was a kid, I remember I would go to a grocery store, and there was always this one guy who would buy me like a slice of liverwurst. Just because I think he liked...
What?
He just... he liked...
You know.
You could be that kid's liverwurst guy by just giving him all of your extra garlic. You'd be like, someone sends me this once every 2 weeks on the internet. I'm giving it to you.
He thought it would make me a man, I think. I think he wanted me to just like, hey, here you go, kid.
What are you...
That's some liverwurst.
You have to explain this. Let's dig a little deeper.
Drop that and be like, and like that guy, you should do this. No, stop there. What is the
Why do you think that he thought giving you liverwurst would make you a man?
Well, I mean, it's liverwurst. I mean, as a kid, it sounds
acting as though any of
gross.
this
None of this is self-evident. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know what liverwurst is.
Stop saying "well" as though any of it is obvious or makes any sense.
1, I don't think I've had liverwurst. 2, I don't know anything about anything that you're saying.
I have had liverwurst because when I worked at a different office in downtown San Francisco, I would go to a just like one of those sort of convenience store delis and get a sandwich. And I would often get the liverwurst sandwich because it was literally the cheapest meat substance on their menu.
Yeah.
It cost basically nothing. So I assume it's garbage. So I assume that is
it's
why.
called liverwurst again.
Yeah,
It's
so
just bits of liver
so you're telling a
mashed up
story
and
about
sliced.
a grown adult man
Yeah.
who regularly encountered this particular child
Yeah.
and delighted
I remember
in
one time-
buying him a slice of
One
like,
time he gave me
cheap
a
processed
silver
meat.
dollar, and I don't know why he did that either.
Was this a reciprocal relationship? Like, what
No.
did you do for this guy?
Nothing.
He took liverwurst and money off his hands.
I just
Yeah.
lived in the 1950s, Chris.
Okay.
Like you
It
would
sounds
pass a
like
man
it.
and he would hand you a slice of liverwurst and a silver dollar, and then you go on.
I think
with
it's
your
safe
day.
to assume that you met the really infamous one of the first street teams. It was the liverwurst processors council's
Yeah.
Right.
liverwurst awareness street team. It really was just that one guy giving a kid liverwurst. It was unsuccessful.
Yeah.
That's why he started resorting to giving you money.
Oh,
He
that's
was
true.
paying you off.
That's true.
Buy
Yeah.
liverwurst.
Yeah,
son,
that makes
he
sense.
said.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll buy it for you and I'll pay you to take it. But once you get your first taste, you'll love it. You'll be back for more.
Did you? Were you? Were you back from?
Oh, I loved liverwurst after
Really?
that. Oh yeah, he got me
Oh,
hooked on liverwurst.
what?
My mom
You
had to start
worked-
buying liverwurst.
Wow.
Yeah, I loved it.
Well, you could. Okay.
So
here
again,
So
that's
find
what
it-
I'm saying. Kids don't like garlic by default, but you could find a kid and make him like
Okay,
it.
that doesn't seem like that's going to help. You walk around giving raw garlic cloves
Well, you've gotta-
to a kid. That was actually a thing in elementary school. One of the elementary schools I went to, we moved around, so I went to a few different elementary schools, but one of them had a little garden. I remember one of the weird things kids did when I was in like third grade is they would sneak into the garden, steal a bunch of garlic, and then dare each other to just eat a raw clove of garlic. And like daring you to eat a garlic was sort of almost a rite of passage kind of mechanic
Yeah.
in my elementary school. And it's disgusting. I mean, eating just like a full-on raw clove of garlic is not good.
I kind of like it.
Do you really?
I don't do it. I like all the time. I wouldn't seek that out. But like if I'm cooking with garlic and I have a bunch of it and it smells really good and I'm in sort of a garlicky mood, I'll just like chomp a clove for sure.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Crazy.
Why
Wow.
not? It's garlic.
Here-
Yeah, I've never done it.
Divide your garlic into 2 portions. Send one half to Jake, courtesy of Idle Thumbs.
And one half to the children
And
of
one half
America.
Yeah, the adorable street urchins of your local neighborhood.
Yeah, I think you should find whatever sort of the National Garlic Council is, propose this idea to them. When they reject it outright, form a competing garlic council and start using your and the rest of America's leftover Blue Apron garlic to raise garlic awareness, but like for yourself and not
Yeah.
for garlic growers.
Maybe
like
you
then you have power over those kids, and you can start pushing a lot of other stuff on them, like liverwurst.
You could wrap the garlic cloves in a slice of liverwurst, which, as we know, children love.
That's like to get
Yeah.
sort of get the garlic
Yeah,
down,
it's
right?
like a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. A spoonful of liverwurst helps the garlic clove go down, as we all know.
Oof.
Classic wisdom.
This is in fact Liverwurst Council and Garlic Council together buying a bunch of huge ads.
Yeah.
What would Christmas be without a garlic clove wrapped in liverwurst?
God, that does
It's a-
sound. Yeah.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
You hang. It's
Yeah.
a traditional German Christmas tradition.
really
you
does.
hang it. You hang the liverwurst wrapped garlic over your hearth,
And then you eat it. You jump up and go, and just try to grab it. All the kids
yeah.
do. They love
and then
it.
Lord Hoistmas pops out, and definitely we
And he
all
says,
know.
yeah.
he
we
says,
all know what he says.
he says, he looks at the garlic and liverwurst that you've been fucking conned into putting all over your house and says, hoisted, and then he leaves. But he eats that
But
garlic
he eats
'cause
it
he's
before he
me.
goes, though.
Yeah. That's good.
He might say ho ho hoisted, in fact. And then he says Merry Hoistmas and taps his nose, and then he
Yeah.
leaves.
Yeah.
But it's like a little knowing instead of like we all celebrate. Like he's saying like got fucking owned, and then he leaves.
Yeah.
So hoisted, my friend.
Yeah. Well, I think that
He
The
gives you
tapping of the nose came from the garlic.
he gives you more liverwurst and then leaves
yeah.
because it's actually that guy. He gives you a silver dollar. Nick, in fact, met Lord Hoistmas.
Oh yeah. Well, you're going to be at some point called to testify on
Yeah.
like in a trial determining the veracity, like the truth, the
Right.
true
Right,
reality
right.
of Lord Hoistmas.
Yeah.
And he'll wink and you'll remember that silver dollar that you still have That's appreciated.
He'll pull it
do.
out of your ear, actually. It'd be like it was with you all along. And you'll go, oh, God, what?
Hoisted.
They hoisted it. It was in
say.
your skull.
Yeah.
That's his magic trick.
Yeah, he pulled it out of your head where he left it earlier, causing you to be the man you are today. He just wanted you to be a man. He wanted you to be a very specific man. Nick Brecken.
Yeah.
He wanted you to be a hoisted man.
Weird long game from Lord of Hoistmas.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only game he plays, though, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true. He
that's
doesn't.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that basically answers Kira's question.
I think so.
Yeah.
There are a few different usages of garlic cloves, including sending them to Jake, distributing them to adorable street urchins, and hanging them wrapped with liverwurst above your hearth.
Or just cook them. Just fucking cook them and smell like garlic.
That's true. You know what's actually really good? I haven't done this in a while, but now that I'm thinking about it, is you roast garlic like inside of its paper. Just roast a whole clove. Just look on the internet for just the roasted garlic. It's an easy thing to do. I did it in just a toaster oven, actually. You don't even need the full oven. And it just ends up sort of cooking inside of itself and turning into, it gets really, really, really soft. And you can then
smear
just, you just spread it directly on a nice crusty bread.
There's a scale for measuring this, in fact.
Yeah.
When you spread it on that crusty bread.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you probably want your garlic at, like a type 6 mushy consistency with ragged edges, I think is about what you want.
That's your roasted
just spreadable garlic. Yeah. And it is delicious. You just you sort of just squeeze it out of the garlic paper directly onto your nice crusty bread. Maybe drizzle it with a bit of olive oil, a little salt and pepper. It's great. It is a delicious treat. Oh, you know what I also did recently with excess garlic? And now that I'm actually thinking about this question for real, I'm remembering all of these.
I'm just thinking about it as not
poo.
garlic at this point. But it's okay.
Again, good crusty bread. That's just an essential. And I had some pine nuts left over from a recipe. One of those things that... and some garlic cloves. And all I did was I put a bunch of pine nuts and I chopped up the garlic cloves, put them in a mortar and pestle, and ground them into a paste together. And then just spread that on some toast. And it was really good. Anyway,
so you have the sort of like smooth spreadable, or the sort of just like really nutty, more sort of crunchy kind.
Yeah. Should we take a break?
Yeah.
This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Quip. Very nice, convenient electric toothbrushes sent to your home, and also sent to your home every 3 months. Brush head refills for that electric toothbrush. If you go to tryquip.com/thumbs, you can get $10 off your first brush head refill. I just got my brush head refill the other day. I got it last week, I guess. Mentioned it last week. Still got those nice, fresh, frayed bristles. Scraping that plaque off. Yeah, it's nice. Like I said last week, that also when you can get a plan that comes with toothpaste as well. And so one of the things that I really appreciate is, along with your big old full chunky toothpaste tube, you get a little like 3-ounce toothpaste tube that fits under the TSA travel guidelines, which is nice. So if you get one of those every month, you can just accumulate a bunch garlic.
Give them away to kids.
Accumulate. That's true. You can if you travel a lot, you can have plenty of little size toothpaste tubes. So if you don't travel a lot,
is that how you become a dentist, Nick?
Yeah.
Just
you
give
get a lot of
kids.
toothpaste to kids, and you say, "Keep your teeth clean." Always eat liverwurst.
Kid, keep your teeth clean. Wink.
Wink.
Like, what are you, the fucking like mobster on the corner? Like, what?
Yeah, but for oral hygiene.
Yeah, you gotta
sure.
teach them.
Yeah. Well, if you want to become this weird, colorful neighborhood character, go to tryquip.com/thumbs for $10 off your first brush head refill, including your little toothpaste tube to distribute to your favorite neighborhood scamp. tryquip.com/thumbs. This episode of Important If True is also brought to you by FreshBooks.
What is that?
FreshBooks is really handy sort of invoicing, billing, time tracking,
Oh, wow.
all the
It's like
different things.
books.
Software, yeah, it's like your books. For if you're a freelancer, if you have a small business, anything that requires keeping track of things yourself, FreshBooks is for that. And if you go to gofreshbooks.com/thumbs, you can get a 30-day trial of FreshBooks that does not even require a credit card. You can start making your invoices, doing whatever, without making any commitment. See if you like it. Don't be that weird guy in the corner handing out garlic and toothpaste tubes. Get your shit.
He does not
together.
have
Get your shit
FreshBooks.
together
Or
with
if you
FreshBooks.
do, keep that shit on lock.
Yeah, that's true. That's a business
Oh, yeah.
expense. Track that in FreshBooks. Those are depreciable assets.
Yeah,
I mean,
your
they're
ti- your-
not. They're
your
not. Please,
time-
this is not financial advice.
Your time is valuable. Your garlic and toothpaste is valuable. Make sure that's all tracked and accounted for.
Know
Like any good
where your
dentist.
toothpaste is. Go freshbooks.com/thumbs.
This one time, I modified my jeans with CRISPR, and then I left a poo. I leave poos in places.
All right, I think we're back.
Okay.
Yeah. So 2 weeks ago, we discussed a really sort of fascinating and technical and weird technology called CRISPR, which is sort of a gene modification science that is, I guess, has been developing for some time now. And Nick brought up various sort of concerns around it. And we received a lot of email from people who are actually scientists of various sorts, which was really interesting. And I wanted to just mention that if you are interested in reading some really interesting follow-up about crazy gene science, you should go to the forum thread for the episode, what was it, 2 weeks ago, I guess, in which we discussed CRISPR, the Important If True episode thread, which we will link that in this week's discussion notes in our episode feed, our podcast feed, because there was some cool stuff in there. People discussing the kind of some of the ethical implications of CRISPR and scientific implications and all sorts of things. And I thought I'd also just kind of quickly read a couple emails we got about it from people who are either scientists or have experience with some of this stuff. Jay Swift says, I was reading a fascinating do-it-yourself article on CRISPR to make glowing beer while listening to you guys talk about CRISPR on the podcast. It's a tech blogger's story of how, with nothing more than a set of instructions and a $160 DIY kit, he was able to introduce a gene sequence to yeast that codes a fluorescent glowing green protein, the same kind that makes moss glow naturally. He modified some yeast, grew it, then used it to make the glowing beer. Lo and behold, at least for the first few taps, when there was still plenty of glowing yeast, there was glowing beer. Of course, part of the process involved putting the cells being modified into a chemical bath to weaken their cell walls so new DNA could be introduced. Meaning it's not so easy to use CRISPR to modify humans in vivo, which I looked up and it means when you're like not in a womb.
You're yeah.
As your cells would have to be taken out, modified, put back in you, and then you'd have to wait until they reproduced enough for, say, your eye color to change. Much easier to modify babies right after they're fertilized via in vitro fertilization, or even before that, which is probably not what you want to hear, but there we are. Brian writes, Hi friends, I'm a biologist and my research focuses on using genomic data to answer questions about how traits evolved. I enjoyed your brief discussion about CRISPR and thought I could provide some context. Something people are often surprised to learn is we don't understand much about the relationship between genes and most traits. Specific genes and most traits. Few traits in humans are determined by a single gene. Your blood type is one example. Some other traits are determined by a small number of genes. About 10 genes determine eye color, but the majority of traits are likely determined by hundreds. This is the missing heritability problem. Over hundreds of years, we've determined that complex traits like height are highly heritable because family members more closely resemble each other than people who are not related. Yet, when we use the genomic sequence to discover specific genes that contribute to heights, the individual genes we identify may explain only 1% of the total variation in height in the human population. So we have a very incomplete picture of the genetic architecture that underlies most traits. Thus, our ability to modify most traits through gene editing is limited by our current understanding of the genes that determine these traits and how they all interact with each other. tools like CRISPR are very useful for making targeted changes in genes in model non-human organisms and seeing how those changes affect development of specific traits. But the idea of using it in humans to treat or prevent diseases or make designer babies is still speculative given the state of our knowledge. But it is an important issue, and there are real ethical concerns that need to be addressed by experts and the public at large before Lloyd Hoistmith deploys the CRISPR gremlins into our germlines. Important and true. Brian. Just some straight up truth. dropped
also
in here.
for your edification,
Yeah.
a crisper is used to keep vegetables fresh because it traps the humidity inside the drawer as opposed to it getting vented out into your refrigerator's ventilation system. And the slider of like fruit to vegetable on the crisper is actually just opening a hole in the bottom of the drawer to let more air in or out, because fruits should just kind of exist in the regular refrigerator humidity, whereas a vegetable is better if it's able to sort of be trapped in a more humid
Interesting.
space.
I have an old refrigerator that has no lever.
The lever is kind of just if you want to use the drawer to be not really a crisper that much is really what it's for. It's just like you can turn it into the rest of the refrigerator.
Sure. That's
So-
interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, now I know. Now I know so much more about CRISPR.
About CRISPR and CRISPRs.
We have a story from John,
Oh,
who writes...
I love being told a story.
Yeah. John writes, "Hey, Chris, Nick, and Jake. Your discussion about sleep studies and brain activity in episode 14 reminded me of something that happened not too long ago. One night I was tossing and turning in my sleep. I moved so much that I woke up my wife, Jenny. As she awoke, she heard me say something. 'What?' Jenny asked. 'It's not working,' I said as I continued to thrash. 'What's not working?' she replied. There was a pause. My working machine." My wife looked at me confused. I stood up, walked to our bedroom door, and left. Realizing I'd been asleep, Jenny assumed I woke up during the exchange and went to the washroom. She was mistaken. 5 or 10 minutes passed, and I returned to bed with no sign I even set foot into our washroom. It shares a wall with our bedroom. It's unclear where I was, but presumably I went to my working machine. Whether or not it was fixed remains a mystery. To the best of my knowledge, this is the only time I've ever walked in my sleep, and I am fascinated by it. Have any of you ever done anything strange or mysterious in your sleep, aside from NyQuil-fueled Goldbluming? If not, what kind of mystery nightmare shenanigans would you like to get up to if you had the choice? Anyway, thanks for all the great casts. All the best, John. P.S. I saw Jeff Goldblum live at a jazz club when I was in L.A. a couple years ago, thanks to your recommendation.
Nice.
He tickled my back."
Yeah, I buy it. That's
That happened for sure.
That is definite true story. No hoisting there.
Yeah.
Until
no.
we see, an old episode of Conan where he tickles someone's back.
That would further prove this story.
That's
I
true.
think,
Fair
by
enough.
Suggesting that is a tool in his tool belt.
Do any of you guys do this? Do any of you guys talk in your sleep or do activities in your sleep?
I mean, I just have crazy dreams.
Okay,
Like,
but-
extremely specific
I have
dreams.
one that is very
Yeah.
similar to this. That was when I was a teen.
Okay.
When my friends and I've told this on at least one of our podcasts at
Okay.
some point, but I don't think this one. When we all used to sleep over at each other's houses, making stupid claymation videos on like VHS camcorders and stuff, and we would eventually all just sort of crash in the garage or someone's bedroom or something. And at one point during one of these, I woke up at like 4 a.m., apparently, I'm told, and just started, I like bolted straight upright, like 90-degree angle, and sort of looked around and was like, you guys, the numbers, they make sense. The numbers make sense, you guys, the numbers, they make sense. And everyone's like, what do you, like, this was all related to me, later.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you, the numbers. And then I apparently just fell right back asleep.
Oh, man.
And that was
That's,
that. So that seems very much in line with
Yes.
Everyone's
it's
just
not
crunching
working,
problems.
my
'cause
working machine.
Dana, my wife, is notorious for just having full conversations when she's asleep, and the worlds that are inside of those are one of them is very similar to that. She turned and just said, "I don't think the White House is going to do anything about that," and then just turned back to sleep.
An accurate sentiment, I would say generally.
The one that stuck out to me because it was an actual conversation was at one point just said, "Did you find a dino?" And I went, I think she's asking right now if I saw or found a dinosaur. And then I was like, okay, apply Ghostbusters rules. Like if someone asks
Right.
if you're a god, say yes. So I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I found a dino. And then she went, oh. and then like a half a second later I went, wait, you found a dinosaur?
You were right.
And then like was really happy and then just
Yeah.
fell back asleep, like relieved
Yeah.
that I had found a
Well, that's
dinosaur.
nice.
And like
Yeah.
that's the only
Oh, you did
that's-
a nice
I'm
thing
glad
there.
you
Yeah.
resolved the story. Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, the confirmation of Like the disappointment, like it sounded like she'd expected that I was going to say no, because who's ever found a dinosaur?
Right.
And then was like, what? And then just a peaceful sleep after that. So
opening with dino rather than
Dino is really great.
Did you find a dino? Yes, I did. Anyway, I'm sure that we've barely scratched the surface of the insane crap that people do when they're asleep. But yeah,
if you've ever done an insane crap in your sleep, please write in to questions@importantiftrue.com.
Ruined. If you think this episode is good, something is wrong with you, as it is wrong with us for making it.
I know. I'm sorry.
We made this, and we're proud of it, and we want to show it to you.
I guess this question is, if you were able to predetermine what you were able... I mean...
Oh my goodness, would I still be rested? Because the bleak, sad adult version is I would just do, like, I'd fucking clean my house. Like,
I would find a dino, personally.
Yeah, that's true. If I could find a dino, I would find one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clean your house. Fucking jackass.
Oh, you wake up and your house is clean.
Yeah. Well, that would be freaky, though, because neither of you would know.
I know.
You would wake up and...
I would start creating a shadow self who resented me. Like, I would actually start splitting my existence in two, I think. That's not the deliberate part. That's the obvious knock-on effect of like, well, if I could just have like a sleep me that cleans my house and does all my chores.
This person just has the shit like remnant of your life where all they have to do is the boring garbage.
They would for sure become sentient and start doing really fucked up stuff to me.
Man,
and
that's terrifying.
That's when you then wake up and you're not home.
And you have like a dick butt on your face.
I guess that's what I would do to myself. I don't know if I could do that. Like if my sleep self would be able to look in a mirror and draw a dick butt.
Yeah, probably not.
But they could,
Well, if you could clean your house, I think that's probably safe to assume. When you say you don't know if you could, you mean you constitutionally? Like, I just don't know if I could bring myself. I don't know if any version of me, even my resentful, sleepwalking shadow self.
Sleepwalking me was like... Man, you also shouldn't have wished that sleepwalking me could draw better than regular me because you gotta get fucked. I'm gonna also use my new cartoonist skills to draw a picture perfect dick butt on you.
Yeah. What do you foresee the sort of resentful shadow life of your like indentured servant sleep self?
Well, I assume that like chores are just sort of like rote actions that people do have like weird dreams of. You like the things you hear about sleepwalkers doing are things like moving things around in a house or sort of like walking in and out of a door and down a hallway. That's not the same as like typing cogent thoughts on a keyboard. Maybe people do. Like maybe they answer my email, like do like Firewatch tech support for me and stuff.
I don't know.
I don't know if I would.
Why?
Just answering.
They just answer the Google.
The 3 Google choices. But I feel like if you did somehow program sleepwalking you to do all the shit you don't want to do, where they're like downstairs doing laundry for you.
Yeah.
But that eventually you do start like waking up in the park like 3 blocks from your house, or like you find that you're like you just wake up somewhere else and eventually there's a note stuck to you that you wrote to yourself, and that's when it gets real bad.
Saying what?
Look in the toilet.
Saying I left you something.
Yeah.
I would probably start going and walking the streets at night distributing garlic and liverwurst to unsuspecting children. I don't know what children would be out in the middle of the night while I was doing this.
Well, they wished that they could go have a gift given to them by a stranger.
I wish I could wake up in the middle of the night and get something wonderful from a magical stranger.
They wake up like, why am I? One hand has just a liverwurst, the other hand has garlic. Like, oh jeez.
That's actually just a time-honored Swedish tradition. Is on Christmas morning you wake up with one hand full of garlic and one hand full of liverwurst.
I heard that it was a Spanish tradition. I thought it was on a talk show. That I think.
Well, no, mine was told to me by someone who did this. Happened to their coworker, so I'm pretty sure that's true. Their Swedish coworker. Alex writes, "Hi guys. Can you help me stop looking at my phone every few minutes? Lately, I've been taking it out without realizing, and before I know it, I'm refreshing Twitter and my news feed. Then, without realizing it, I've lost half an hour looking at bullshit. I'm worried it is destroying my capacity to concentrate, and I lose a lot of the day I could spend on something meaningful. Also, constantly reading Twitter and the news is psychically exhausting. Any tips on how to cure my addiction? Has anyone had experience giving up a non-narcotic addiction? Regards, Alex, sent from my iPhone." I would immediately like to point out that, entirely true to form, the second I started reading that email, Jake got on his phone and was on it for the duration of me reading the question.
I was leaving myself notes about the previous conversation.
Yeah, I'm sure. Jake is literally the least equipped person to answer this question, but I would like to hear your thoughts on
I
it.
use my phone all the time.
Jake is-
and
yeah.
there's no way that I use my phone. There's no way that I will ever get myself off my phone. I have good periods of time and bad periods of time where I am using it slightly less, but it's only perceivable to me that I'm doing so because on the whole, I'm on my phone all the goddamn time.
Yeah.
I have an easy solution for this.
Yeah?
Sign up for Blue Apron. You're going to get a bunch of garlic you don't want. Rub your garlic all over your phone.
Yeah.
And then every time you have to use it, it's just revolting and just stinks. And then you just, ugh, and you have to throw it away.
I mean, yeah, probably something
It's
that
like cayenne pepper with like dog poo. You know?
What?
Oh, you never heard of this?
Stop.
No, I mean, I legitimately
No, but
haven't heard of what
it's
you're
the
saying.
same concept. I mean, if you want a dog to stop eating its own poo, you just pour a bunch of cayenne pepper on
Wait,
it.
seriously? Is that a problem with dogs?
Yeah,
I
oh
don't have
yeah.
a dog.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Dogs.
Yeah.
I can't believe that we've managed to somehow have
Sorry, Jake.
contains more than like USDA approved amount of fecal content per serving. Like
Yeah.
this episode is just made of it.
Yeah. Well,
That's how the sausage gets made.
Be gone. Anyway, I'll be on my phone.
I have turned off. I mean, this is a serious answer, I guess. I've turned off all notifications on my phone except for text messages and phone calls. I guess if someone actually calls me, although I'm starting to get to the point where I want to turn those off because at this point, 90% of the phone calls I get are just are not real.
I was a compulsive fingernail biter for years. Up until like in the last year, I've made myself stop doing it.
Well, for biting your nails, some people do the same trick. They put like
Poo on?
substances.
Yeah, they put poo- oh.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Sorry, what I mean is you find the garlic man
Right.
and handle all the. That's
Yeah.
actually, you know what? That's not bad.
Or other things that you don't
use
yourself
all of
don't
the
like.
old Blue Apron garlic to wipe on things that you don't want yourself to do anymore.
Yeah.
It's just you've got garlic all over your phone, all over your fingers. You're just that weird guy.
Yeah.
Who just kind of.
Yeah. You're gonna have a problem with your social life, but everything else is gonna be like
There are some
taken
things
care of.
garlic can't solve.
Yeah.
But up until that point, solve everything with garlic.
Right.
The one thing you won't be able to solve is your life being covered in garlic.
aggressively mature into weird, eccentric,
Yeah.
older person.
Well,
that
you-
just kind of somehow smells like garlic.
You
all
have
the time.
your sleep self just go around doing this.
just spreading
Just
garlic
spreading
everywhere.
garlic everywhere. Then
Yeah,
you
if
wake
you-
up and you're like, oh,
If you
I can't do
live-
this. Oh.
If you live with a partner, this might be an ill-advised
probably.
strategy. Just
What if they love garlic and you give them a bunch of bad habits by putting garlic everywhere? Where they're like, oh god, now they're on their they're on my phone all the time. I'm like biting my fingernails and it's fucked up. God, they're like, oh, I just love this for some reason.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, that's a fucking H.R. Giger monster. Is the monster that follows you around sucking on your fingernails
Because they love garlic.
because they love garlic. That is a classic Swedish Christmas tale. Is the
Oh,
garlic
yeah.
finger licking monster who you wake up in the morning and they've been sucking on your fingers.
Oh, this is like
overnight.
a
God.
way more specific and fucked up Krampus or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. This is like Lord Hoistmas leaves garlic and liverwurst in each of your hands.
But you've got to also watch
and
out for the
then-
Bristol monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. The Bristol Goblin sneaks into your bedroom at night.
The Bristol Goblin is the skin of a Furby, by the way. Or is it the guts of a Furby?
Oh, the Goblin is the guts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the bare
That's the classic.
skeleton.
That's the classic
Yeah.
sort of mnemonic.
scampering into
The
your room.
goblin is the guts.
Right. Shall we endorse?
Sure.
Yeah, I love endorsing stuff.
Well, you're gonna have to wait because I'm gonna go first. Actually, before my endorsement, correct me if I'm wrong, but Jake, I believe at one point you endorsed the sort of extraneous content of the Great British Bake Off.
I did.
The masterclass
Yeah.
episodes. I realized recently that those are on Netflix.
Yes, they've shown up in America. The sort of history components that are edited into the main episodes are still edited out in the U.S.,
Yeah.
but the masterclass stuff
Yeah.
is available now.
So we've been watching those. We've only watched 2 episodes so far of the Great British Baking Show Masterclass, but they are great, and they make me really sad that Paul Hollywood and Mary Berry are going to be split up as that show changes around. It's really sad, but they're fantastic. So I'm seconding Jake's endorsement from a few weeks ago. My actual endorsement, this is ridiculous, but my endorsement is the 1993 film Jurassic Park, which
oh God, what is this? I endorse Terminator 2.
I don't know, man. The 3 of us went and saw this movie in the theater about a week ago or something.
So your endorsement, I imagine, is actually go and rewatch that film and don't take for granted that it's good.
Yeah, definitely. Watch Jurassic Park. If you've seen it very recently, then you
then you know.
I imagine you know and may well agree with me, but I sort of take it as a given that it's just Jurassic Park. It's just just like one of the great, and just like blockbuster movie, I guess, is sort of the genre. But man, that movie is great, and in particular, it is great because of how simultaneously grandiose but also completely human scale it is from the beginning to the end. It is, especially the first 45 minutes of that movie, is so enjoyable. It is so amazingly enjoyable before anything ostensibly exciting happens. It is such a great
the section basically up until the ride starts.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's captivating. Everything
so
about
many good choices. Just show the big fucking dinosaur, but then just have an argument, amongst adults at a table. It's just, it's so good and restrained and not
really
shitty.
Good. And the music is incredible. The soundtrack is amazing. It's just the performances are great. Casting, the screenplay, it's just really wonderful. And it sounds like such a ridiculous thing to say, but don't take it for granted. You should watch it. That's my endorsement.
Chris, before I endorse, since we all have little pre-segments, I have a question for you.
Yeah?
Which is, how is your commitment to the cold shower capper going?
Well. About a month ago, went on an almost 2-week long vacation to London and Paris with my wife, and intended to do 2 different things. Keep up the cold shower capper, and also a thing I intend to do every single time I stay in hotels everywhere, which is keep up my gym routine using the hotel's fitness center. You'll be shocked to learn that both of those were instantly not only discarded, but utterly forgotten the second I set foot in any of the hotels at which we stayed. There was zero ramp down whatsoever. I completely discarded both of those habits. I've been to the gym once since then, and I've done the cold shower capper 0 times since then.
Oh, no.
So yeah, to the reader asking about how to break habits or maintain healthy habits, sorry, please look elsewhere. Please write into a different podcast. I am a disgrace.
I didn't think that you would be caught out that hardcore. I appreciate your honesty and openness in how destroyed you are at this point.
Yeah, it was just ugh.
All right. Well, keeping with the theme of this week's dumb episode of Important If True, I would like to endorse a band. The band is named Fart Barf. That's one word, Fart Barf.
Yeah.
I saw them last night at Bottom of the Hill in San Francisco. Fart Barf. It's a 3-person band.
You're a Fart Barf aficionado.
I saw Fart Barf with you.
I'm a Fart Barf fan. Yeah, Nick has seen Fart Barf in the flesh.
I've seen Fart Barf.
Okay, Fart Barf is, I guess the best way to describe it is if the soundtrack to the original Nintendo DuckTales game or Mega Man took up smoking when it was 13 years old. It kind of has. It's a very catchy and sort of pop melody stuff, but very video game heritage because they're playing on huge ass synthesizers. But
it's intense.
But it's also just an aggressive assault. Here, their sound is optimized to just sound amazing and all encompassing when heard in a shitty dive bar that has huge speakers. It's the sort of band that the drummer is really good and holds everything together, but then there'll sort of be a drum riff that establishes a rhythm, and then both of the two guys will just lay down like the thickest chords on 2 synthesizers each, and you just feel it in your chest. And it's a really good live show for that reason. I mean, well, and just their melody lines are catchy.
That sounds a lot like, I mean, I'm sure these people are obviously a million times better, but that sounds very much like one incarnation of the band that I played with in high school.
What you probably did not do was have all of the band members wear blue jumpsuits adorned as if they're like old NASA astronauts, and they wear rubber caveman masks with huge grins on them. So it just looks like they like are a mishap Planet of the Apes / 2001 like 60s sci-fi experiment that woke up and found themselves surrounded by synthesizers and are just like having the fucking funnest time of their life being weird cavemen who learned how to operate these machines to just blast your face.
So for people who will not probably have the opportunity to see Fart Barf live, is there an album that you would recommend?
They have one album.
Okay.
It's just search for Fart Barf. The album I don't think is anywhere near as good as their live show because it's just like the sound is very hard to replicate on an album, but like the album just sounds kind of a little bit more chiptune than
cleaner.
Their
that stuff is always
than their
tough.
live show. Yeah. My friend is friends with some people in Fart Barf, and
cool.
it sounds like, I mean, they picked that name because it's funny, but I think that they also may have picked it in part to limit their band's ability to ever do anything. Like, they get requested by people to play in a lot of venues in Southern California, which is where they're based, and then are just not put on the marquee because the person doesn't want to put Fart Barf in his writing.
But you think they did that intentionally to keep themselves an underground? Like,
I think that they
what
might
does
have.
that mean?
I think they might have in part done it because they think it's funny that they're never ever going to be able to headline anything, no matter what happens to their band.
Yeah. Do you remember that question? I don't know, like a month ago or more, maybe, about how if you could go through life again, knowing what you knew, but you still had to live your whole life again, what would you do? Maybe Fart Barf is the second incarnation of a band that in their first life had incredible meteoric success, but it ruined them and like ruined all their personal relationships.
Like, if I could change one thing, I'm going to name the band something that will never succeed.
Yeah.
Fart Barf.
They know for a fact that their raw musical talent would lead to a completely certain conclusion, which is incredible world-beating success. But the only way, but they still love
but
music.
Like all of the loves of their life and all the things they had hoped to do otherwise
sort of crumble to dust.
So they're like, oh God, we gotta. So call it Fart Barf and definitely wear those shitty caveman masks.
Yeah, like they didn't go like the full metal band route of calling it like Santa's Donkey Fucker or something that just like really ensures you're only ever in like the bottom row and
call it the stupidest and most offensive thing you
right
can.
It's something that's not actually like outright profanity, but it's gonna keep you from
right,
like you're never gonna be on like Letterman or whatever,
right?
Probably. Nick.
I guess going in the opposite direction from insanely loud.
I realized I meant to say
bands.
Satan's Donkey Fucker, but I sort of dyslexed it up
nope.
into Santa's. Lord Hoistmas Donkey Fucker.
That was the image in my mind.
Lord Hoistmas Donkey Fucker was in fact in the general election last week.
Yeah. Nick, what do
Placed
you have?
12th.
12th in Maidenhead.
I should just endorse that. No, I'm going to endorse something incredibly mundane, but very important if you actually need it and don't realize that you do. I'm going
garlic.
I'm going to endorse the usage of earplugs, which to me, like growing up, earplugs were just a thing in cartoons that people like used when like a train was going by or like Wile E. Coyote was doing a thing. Like I didn't actually like understand really that like earplugs were like a thing you go buy and use. Like it just didn't occur to me that would be something you would actually want to like put something weird like foam in your ears. Like what? You're not gonna do that like every day. Okay, you won't until a 3-year-old moves in underneath you and 2 dogs are across from you in your apartment and they wake you up early in the morning every morning. And then earplugs are amazing things. They actually work.
They do actually work. You have to get decent ones, but
yeah, they just sort of like fill up your ears with foam.
Isn't that a crazy feeling?
It's a weird feeling.
It's a weird feeling.
I don't like it, but once it's in there, I can't really feel it.
Yeah.
And then it's just like complete, just dead silence.
Earplugs,
it's so beautiful.
I love that feeling because
God.
as that sensation is happening, I now associate it with like peace.
Yeah.
When they're like,
right.
Here it comes. Yes.
Oh, it's so
The thing
nice.
that was
And
annoying
that
me
way
is no longer annoying me.
You can't hear your partner screaming at you when you're up cleaning the house in your deep sleep alternate reality nemesis mode.
Yes, that's true.
Well, that actually happened to me because my
What?
partner Janelle. Well, not that specifically, but like one time I had the earplugs in, and I just looked over it was just in the middle of the night, and she had just shot out of bed, and her mouth was just opening and closing like this, and I took the earplugs out, and she was just screaming
Oh my
at the
God.
top of her lungs and looking at me like like just like so loudly that it felt like something must be happening to her, not that she had like a nightmare.
Right.
And then she went back to sleep and didn't remember it. And it was she just had. And I looked it up.
Wow.
It's like it's called a night terror.
Yeah.
That you can have. So that earplugs make that interesting as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would endorse earplugs.
Earplugs.
Not night
Ignore the
terrors.
plight of your sleeping partner.
Yeah. Anyway.
They're one of the products that is now being gendered for no reason.
Oh God.
Weird.
Where there's like earplugs for her that are pink and it's like the slightly smaller size, and then earplugs for like your man sleep.
That are black and tactical.
Yeah,
Tactical
or there's
earplugs.
like that sort of shit. Like, have you noticed that there's
look
Q-tips?
like bullets.
There's Q-tips for men
I
now.
have definitely not noticed
Oh,
this.
Q-tips for men. I would like to endorse not ever purchasing and in fact destroying Q-tips for men. It's literally Q-tips, but they have a like corrugated metal pattern printed into the box, and it
Oh my
says
God.
the ultimate multi-tool at the bottom.
Oh no.
Fuck you.
Ooh.
Fuck you.
So yeah, on that's probably our episode. If you have email for us, questions, what sort of observations, tactical
If
bullshit.
you have questions or tactical questions.
That's true. Questions at importantiftrue.com is where you should send them. Our website is importantiftrue.com, which has links to the other places you can find us on the internet. And if you would like an ad-free version of this podcast, you can get that by going to patreon.com/idlethumbs and backing our whole endeavor at the appropriate level. And with that, I think that just about does it for this week on Important If True. So join us next week. Tell a friend if you like the show. For Idle Thumbs, I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Breckman.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
Stay spicy, everyone.
Don't stay too spicy or you will have to look up the results on the Bristol scale. That I turned the screen off after I started the scene rotator, but before I looked to see if it was working, it seems to be working. Sometimes I've done that before, and then I've found that like it's introducing insane things.
But you're saying it seems to be working?
Fucking Christ. That remains to be seen.